Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a Twin Flame Channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the Aquarius full moon that took place on August 1st at 2:31 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. I just want to kick off by saying thank you guys so much for all of your patience and your warm well wishes about my well-being when this video did not go up promptly at the new moon or just before. It was so kind of you guys to check in and to be so thoughtful about me. Thank you to the people who emailed to check in, and thank you especially to the folks who didn't email but had me on their mind and maybe thought to themselves, she might have enough going on in her inbox. Well, let me just give it a beat. When she gets to it, she'll get to it. I really appreciate that consideration as well. This was an exciting full moon. I've got some really quick announcements. I'm going to be launching very soon a private astrology mentorship. And that mentorship will have limited seats when you hear the announcement about it. If you're looking to start an astrological business and you've been wanting to get mentored by me about either the business aspects or just how to read, how I read, this will be your opportunity to do that. There will be spaces available sometime in the next 30 days. So look out for that. Once that opens, you'll want to make sure you register, because after it closes, there will be no other mentorship for astrology with me provided this year. I may bring it back next year, depending upon how it goes. So if you're not on the private list, I highly recommend you get on it, because spaces will in fact be offered to the private list first. All right. I loved the energy of this full moon, walking into it, during it, just on the other side of it. It comes right on the heels of an event that many in the astrological community celebrate as the Lionsgate. It is the annual flooding of the Nile River and the astrological alignment in the sign of Leo. That'll link. I did a video about this several years back. I'm going to link a video with all the information about this below so that you can understand what the Lionsgate is about and why it's so important in the astrological new year. But this particular Lionsgate and Aquarius full moon is facilitated by a Jupiter square to the moon and to the sun. With that Jupiter square, this T-square, this is what's caused a lot of the energy to be so different with this particular full moon. When we have Jupiter in square to the moon or in square to the sun, that 90-degree angle fosters a degree of optimism, hope, faith, enlightenment, opportunities. And in shadow, it can mean a lot of excess, going overboard, overindulging. It can be a bit of a frenetic energy as well. And almost a busyness is coming with this particular full moon. There's a busyness to it. Well, simultaneously, because at this full moon, we have 10 placements in the fixed modes. This full moon has an energy of kind of like one foot on the gas while the car is in park. One foot's not even on the brake. The car is just in park, and you're like, got your foot all the way on the gas, trying to get the car to go, just flooding the engine with gasoline, but the car can't go anywhere. So there's reasoning for this, which I'm going to get into in a moment. But just for those who are new, fixed signs are Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, which we don't have any placements in, but also Taurus over here. Okay. And so our fixed signs, the gift of fixed energy is the energy of holding the fort, holding the line, staying consistent, following through, continuity, and the ability to double down and see a thing through to its end, come hell or high water. Fixed energy is the energy you want to have your back when the chips are down, when it looks like, you're outnumbered by the enemy. You want fixed signs and fixed energy on your side. But with this particular Aquarius full moon, while there's so many placements, planetary placements and fixed signs, there's also a lot of energy around movement as well. There's a lot of shuffling, a lot of shifting, especially as Jupiter is informing this particular new moon. There's also a lot of motivation because Jupiter is speaking so heavily to Mars, and Mars is an energy of movement. It's an energy of motivation and ambition and drive. It's an energy of action. Jupiter here is an energy of faith and optimism and expansion. You put these two together as Jupiter is influencing the full moon, and you have this kind of like all dressed up, nowhere to go yet kind of vibe to it. So the ready to go-ness, the want to do kind of feeling can feel very elevating. Many of you may have experienced like insomnia with this. If you are the kind of person who may have like ADD or ADHD or anxiety, some of you could have found this very productive energy. It could have been very balancing for you. It could have been very illuminating for many. There should have been some sort of insight, an aha moment that came with this energy. Could have also been very depleting if you naturally have a lot of air or fire in your chart. Could have been a bit of an overload or overstimulating for you. Again, if you struggle with things like ADD, ADHD, or anxiety challenges, there could also be a lot of planning and strategy going on with this full moon as well. Just not execution, not yet, or the execution may be a little bit all over the show, a little bit like doing bits and pieces. It's a very Mad Hatter type of energy we get when there's a lot going on in Aquarius. And we've got the moon, we've got Earth, we've got Cheryl stacked up together. We've got Jupiter just pouncing on them from that 90-degree angle, expanding emotions, heightening capacity to manifest, and then adding a lot of divine intervention and help to any efforts we've put toward our self-care, toward our best favor here. And so in this energy, if you haven't already, if you're still kind of riding high on it, if you have found it a little bit unsettling, it'll be really important to immediately implement some sort of exercise or physical activity to really anchor the spirit and the body. Stick to all of your healthy rituals and routines as much as possible. And if you got thrown off, totally okay, just add them back in. Time outside and earthing will be really helpful for this as well. Really kind of moving the energy through the body. When we're dealing with Aquarian energy, it can be electrifying to a degree where it can feel overstimulating for some, opening, enlightening, blissy for others. It can also have you feeling very connected to other people, really picking up intuitively on the thoughts around you in this energy and not even realizing maybe some of the things you're thinking are coming from other people. You're just filtering through for you as we're all moving forward in consciousness, and our creatorship, divine creatorship abilities are expanding. Okay. This is a real wonderful opportunity to live in some inspiration for possibility here. There's a lot of hope in this energy, a lot of faith for what could be in this energy. And Jupiter's influence can, in shadow here, it bears saying it's kind of classic in the astrology. Classical astrology says that when Jupiter is square to sun or moon, we tend to have people move into cycles of excess. eating excess food, partaking of excess substances or substance abuse, excess alcohol, excess exercise, excess work, the tendency to go overboard with any of these things that can, in moderation, maybe they're fine for you, right? In moderation. But when we do too much of a good thing can sometimes really become a bad thing. And there's a line. And when Jupiter's involved in this kind of T-square, the line becomes blurry, invisible, pushed way out, that kind of thing. And so because we also have this Martian influence on Jupiter while Jupiter is influencing the sun and the moon, there can even be excess anger if we have this energy coming through in shadow, because Mars can represent anger or rage when he's in shadow. And the light, it's just ambition, forward movement, it's momentum, it's effort and action. But we can see things like excess anger coming through with this. It's funny now that I'm thinking about it. One of the things that's like been problematic on my side is I've got this neighbor who during this full moon, like every single night, she's just decided she was going wild out. And I can count on it like clockwork because I can hear her through the walls that she's just flipping the frick out on whoever she happens to live with right around 9 or 10 o'clock every single night leading up to the full moon, during the full moon, last night. I'm like, oh my gosh, woman, like chill. The full moon will be over shortly. But yeah, there can be a lot of, for those who aren't yet conscious of the way the energy is affecting them, we can see some shadow tendencies come up because this energy can be very stimulating. Okay. So, like I said, you can work with anything that helps discharge the energy like a lightning rod, getting that energy moving, grounded through you instead of you being the receptacle for all of it. That'll really help you move through this. Okay. Within this as well, and I'm going to talk about this in a moment as we get toward the end here, because we will do first look at the end of this video. If you're new to this channel, the end of each lunar update for the Lightworker Collective, I do put a video call, or do put a chart up of the next lunation, and I walk you through my first impression of that lunar update. It would be a new moon that we have next, and I'll look at it and tell you, okay, here's what's coming. So if you're curious about that, stay tuned till the end. But just before that, at the end of this update, I'm going to walk you through why this is so, why there seems to be so much shifting sand, why there seems to be like the walls and the ceiling and the doors are moving and things aren't where they used to be, and like structures seem to be crumbling and new things popping up. There's some real astrological reasons that we have all of this change seeming to happen all at one time, creating a sense of ungroundedness and unstructuredness to this moment. We'll get into that. But before we do that, because that energy is going to be ongoing for a period of time, this particular full moon is just one moment in a larger scale transformation we're all in the middle of. However, what is important to understand about this particular full moon, and I really want to make sure that I say it to you guys, is that there's a lot of opportunity here to get caught up in other people's pain stories or other people's transformations, or project your pain story onto other people. Because not everyone does well with change, right? Cardinal signs do well with change under certain circumstances. Mutable signs, that's all they know is change. They're the ones that are gifted at change. Virgo, Pisces, Gem, Sag. You guys have a gift for change. But the fixed signs in particular, and this is a fixed full moon, an Aquarius full moon, and there's lots of fixed energy here. For the fixed signs, this can be very confronting because the gifting to us that fixed energy provides is the energy of continuity. But in a fixed full moon, where there's so much demand for change, growth, and transformation, like there is right now, T square from Jupiter, got a lot of stuff going on with Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto as well, which I'll speak to momentarily. Where we have attachment to how it is where we can find ourselves confronted by the energy of how it is crumbling and no longer being how it's going to be. And so as we all move through this collectively, there are a couple of things to really kind of bear in mind. Number one, everyone doesn't deal with change the way you do. So expecting them to respond the way you're going to respond is unreasonable during a season like this. Season meaning all the way through probably about this time next year, it really comes to a head, but certainly through the end of this year. Additionally, it'll be really important to understand that because everyone doesn't respond the way you do, let people have their process. That's the second thing. People are going to process it differently, work with it differently. And the more you love someone, I get it, the more attached you are to the way they deal with change, your mom, your dad, your daughter, your son, right? But it'll be really important to understand that just as you're going through a process, so too are they. And you just let them work it in the way that their, innate chart, the programming they got from the divine, from God, lets them work it. And then number 3, this is one of my favorite phases. When I learned it, I was like, wow, that is liberating. Keep this phrase close to your heart. Not my monkeys, not my circus. Where other people are trying to rope you into their pain and try to get you to, be on their side, because we will see people do this. Lots of, come join me in my pain story, my victim story, my disempowerment story, my something's wrong with me, with it, with them story. It'll be really important to take on the opportunity for witnessing without judgment and for creating the space for divine neutrality in this. There's a real mastery opportunity in this to let people work their process. They have been able to do it before you. They will be able to do it after you. Yeah. We are all our own heroes in this. Okay. So that is a few words of how to cope wisdom from your friendly astrological neighbor here, K Moon. And so one of the other things I love about this full moon is with Jupiter here, we get that opportunity. Jupiter really is our relationship to faith, our relationship to belief systems. It's our relationship to those philosophical higher ideals that we strive to live toward. And in the light, we have an opportunity, as we're watching a lot of unraveling happening in different ways. It could be small, to like restructuring at your job, to large, to complete industries collapsing as, AI comes in, etc. What we can really take this opportunity for is, well, what's the good in this? What are the possibilities in this? Where can I be hopeful in this? What are the options and solutions in this? And right as we were coming up to this Aquarius full moon, and actually yesterday, there was a wonderful juxtaposition in the media that you guys can all go look for if you want to see this. And both perspectives are valid. The perspective of, wow, this hurts, this is uncomfortable, really valid, because it shows us. It shows us what we need to preserve in order to move forward. and the perspective of, you know what, that's actually not a problem. We can let this go. That's also really valid. So many of you worldwide are aware that there is a union for actors here in the United States called the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, and they decided, the actors who are members of the union voted to go on strike because there is some changing in the way revenue is made in the industry, and they would like to see a change get made in the way they are compensated as artists. You can read what the strike tenets are, but on social media, there's a well-known actress named Sarah Silverman who had put together a statement about her disappointment and frustration that there were certain actors who had received waivers from the union to continue working during the strike. And the construct of a strike really only works when everyone puts their foot down and says, no, we can't move forward until certain demands are met, certain terms are met. We need to get to a place of negotiation on this that works more equitably for everyone at the table. But with certain people not participating, it just doesn't work, right? And so this is why this is so critical at this time, because Aquarius represents collectives. It represents groups of people. Aquarius really, if there was a sign that is covered under unions or governs unions, it is Aquarius. And we are at this Aquarius full moon. However, in the last, I think it's maybe 24, 48 hours, there is another actress named Cheryl Lee Ralph. Many of you know her, many of you don't, who came out with a statement about how important it is to let people continue to work, certain people at this time. I'm going to play the statement for you. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it, and in that way you'll know.
Something, as first vice president of the LA local, I have to honestly say, interim agreements are smart agreements. What that does is keep little conversations going with producers who are not the big major producers, but you're trying to love them up and grow them up in the way you want them to go, to understand, no, this is the amount of money that we need over here to make this feasible. And so now the big folks can look and say, well, wait a minute, if they can do it, why aren't we doing? See, you love people with grace and love, and you show them a direction. Interim agreements are good because it shows you it can be done. So why don't we just...
Okay, so that was the soundbite that had come out through the Associated Press, but also a valid perspective, right? Both of them are needed perspectives in the conversation at this time. And so the invitation on the table for all of us through that particular example is this: there are solutions available when you are willing to look at what's going right, what could go right, instead of what's going wrong. And it's important to be looking for, where is your attention right now? What is it that you're focused on right now? Because if you can focus on where the light is and what's going right, you will in fact find where your options for growth, where the open doors are. But if all you're focused on is what's going wrong, the opportunity to evolve in this is going to miss you. You will miss it. Okay. So now, if you want to have a look at some of this, I've been talking to a lot of folks in private sessions about how transformative this energy is. Many of my clients in this past week either showed up kind of like in tears or on edge, because there was just so much happening in their personal lives, and they just felt so overwhelmed by how much they're personally transforming, how much everyone else is transforming, and the structures around them are transforming. If you're looking for some guidance on how do I navigate this, where are the solutions, what is the possibility in my life, and you're feeling a little stuck or hopeless or down, by all means, feel free to book a private reading with me. The link is below this video. I'm at kmoonastro.com. Because the reorganizing energy of this is impacting just about every area of life for most people in some way, but especially work and money, and especially relationships and home. If you need some support, now is the time to get it, because this energy gets even more heightened as we get to the tail end of August, and Mercury goes retrograde on August 23rd. Okay. So let's get into the other aspects here. If you want to book, I'm over at kmoonastro.com. Other energies unfolding at this time. We've got this Mars Jupiter thing happening, and Mars is also conjunct Mercury and Pallas. That's Pallas Athena there. I teach about her in Star School 201, and I'll be teaching about her in the private mentorship as well. The Mars Mercury thing, along with Jupiter, this combo in an earth sign is what has us like hopped up and ready to go. And then the minute we start taking steps, it feels like we're trudging through mud just a little bit, or like a swamp. Earth signs are earthy. We've got Virgo here for Mars, Mercury, and Pallas, and we've got Taurus here for Jupiter. They're speaking harmoniously, meaning their influence is working together. It's easier to get the light from these energies. With that combo in Virgo, we're getting a lot of planning, we're getting a lot of strategy, we're getting a lot of kind of thoughtfulness, and perhaps even some initial steps, what can happen, a lot of project managey type energy. And Jupiter just throwing fuel on that fire, going, yeah, let's do that, and then let's do this too, and then let's add to that, and then let's do this other thing too. Jupiter is like the ultimate hype man. So anything that is going on in your world, that for good or for ill, if Jupiter's having a conversation with it, Jupiter's throwing gasoline on that fire. And so right now, because Jupiter's speaking to this new moon, and this new moon is very activating, and we've got also this Mars Mercury thing in Virgo, it's heightening our perceptive abilities around the way we can strategically move forward in some area of life. Like I said, there are solutions here if you're willing to look in the direction of possibility. Okay, so keep your eyes on that. Now, this can be a little bit, it can go either way. For people who are very comfortable in this energy, you may find that there's a lot of action, like things are just starting to move, the doors are starting to blow open. But for those who have found this the opposite, maybe a little bit more challenging or overstimulating, this is where there might be a lot of talk and no action, or even overthinking, or even harsh language without action. You can find like maybe even some blamey or guilty energy going on with this. I think that's what's going on next door with my neighbor, as far as I can tell. I'm like, wow, this girl's a lot of talk. Like, she really doesn't have to suffer as much as she's suffering. And it's wild to bear witness to all of it and be like, okay, well, that's an interesting choice to make. Hopefully she can find her way to her solutions. We also have Uranus influencing this Mars by trine, and it's a loose trine. It's going to get tighter as we get toward the end of August. But this is where we're going to start to see like real, like spontaneous, like action, movement, momentum, and the energy of breakthrough. Because when Uranus gets in the mix, on top of Jupiter, like I said, Jupiter is the ultimate hype man, but Uranus is the change maker. Uranus enters the room and it's the needle across the record. At the funeral where everyone's wearing all black, Uranus is the one who shows up in a white suit, white cane, white top hat, and shades, and bling, like dripped out in bling. Uranus is the energy that is like, no, 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 we're not doing it. This is what we're not going to do. We're going to do this, this, that, and the following instead. Uranus wants to elevate. Uranus wants to illuminate. Uranus wants to catapult us into someplace new. And so with Uranus entering the mix here, and then speaking to Mars, which is action, and it's about ambition and drive, and that conversation is going to deepen the further we get into August and the beginning of September. This is when we start to get impulsivity in shadow, and reactionariness in shadow. And we're already seeing some of this start because Uranus is the ruler of the moon, which is in Aquarius. Uranus is Aquarius's ruler. That impulsivity, that reactivity, that acting out, that lashing out. We may see more of that as we get closer to the beginning of the Mercury retrograde. So again, really important here to just let people have their process. Don't project your pain on other people. Mind your monkeys and your circus, because all of us have a plate full of transformation right now. Try not to get roped into other people's stuff where you can avoid it. Okay. And so it will get harder to deny reacting to the third dimensional circumstances. However, what will be constructive for us is to like the place where there will be like a physical check and balance to that for us is the physical body. Again, earth signs, body, especially Taurus, where Uranus and Jupiter sit, and especially Virgo, which deals with our physical health and well-being. Anything that's likely to raise your blood pressure, get your blood boiling, anything that is likely to force you to break a sweat when you was having a really good day, anything that's going to make you, physically want to punch a hole in a wall or throw your phone. Great opportunity the month of August to just take a beat, put it to the side, let people know, I support you, and simultaneously I can see that this is something you're going to need to make your own decisions around. Whatever you decide, I got your back. I love you. And just take a step back. And where you in your own life are confronted or challenged by some of these things, again, the invitation is to look at where's the opportunity. And here's the part I'm really loving about this. With Taurus, we're invited to look at where's the pleasure, what's going to feel good, what's going to feel aligned. If there was ever a sign that is instrumental in helping us be incarnated in our physical bodies, certainly Virgo is health and wellness. And we're going to have this Mercury retrograde all over Virgo. We're all up in the energy now. Venus is about to join the party in a minute in Virgo. We'll have a nice Virgo stellium. But Taurus here with Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, we're looking for new ways to feel good. And that's all that's happening when people are kind of lashing out and blowing off steam in some of these ways. People are trying in maybe some unhealthy ways to find ways to feel good, or feel better than what they felt before they let it all out. And so one of the things that you can do to get in front of this energy and not let it get the best of you is to take a break from focusing on what's wrong, focusing on the pain, focusing on the wounding, and maybe take a beat to just nourish and nurture yourself with some feeling good in this energy. That's what's really going to support us in finding the solutions, getting in the mindset of a rested, relaxed nervous system that has bandwidth for solutions, that has the capacity to see, to get out of fight or flight. And so with this full moon, part of the reason we have some of that is T-squares are always tense. We've got Jupiter square Sun, Moon, and the opportunity here is to let something go and reach for something that feels better. And that's Scorpio here. When you've got a T square and there's no planet in the fourth of the three signs that are already occupied in that mode, and we have three of the fixed modal signs occupied, the sign that has no planetary occupation is Scorpio. Scorpio is about change and transformation, but the access point is over here with Jupiter and Taurus, and that's about pleasure, the five senses, feeling good, doing what you can to get yourself to a place of being able to, again, relax that nervous system, regulate it, and look to where's the fun, where's the pleasure, and take it minute by minute with that. Okay. And that will actually keep you, the conscious person listening to this, out of that, some of that, kind of hyped up reactivity that we're going to see escalate as we get through August. Okay. Now, we also are going to have, we have Uranus square Venus during this time. Let me just clean some of that up so you can see it. Here's Venus retrograde. She already began her retrograde path. We saw the themes show up throughout the month of July. We're going to see those thematics get taken into consideration in the month of August and then get resolved in the month of September. And so my suspicion, if I had to put a guess on when the actors strike may come to completion, some of the other strikes, it'll be as we close out the Venus retrograde. I have a date on that. Let me give it to you guys one sec. Here's my sticky where I wrote that. It stations direct on 9/3, but fully exits shadow on October 7. And so the September, October, so the September timeframe is when we're looking for some of that to start. We'll start to see some solutions come forward. But again, the opportunity is through paying attention to what feels good with Uranus and Taurus, that feel good sign. Venus also being all about pleasure, all about sensuality and beauty, and really taking care of the physical body, not just outside, but also inside. And the sign that represents self-sovereignty, really putting oneself first, and that's Leo. With this Uranus and Venus in a squaring position to one another in the sign that Venus rules, is where Uranus is set up here. Venus is like all over this in a, okay, look, we cannot afford to continue to like slit open our own wrists and pour out blood just so that other people can slake their thirst. Like, we actually really need to like help other people find sources of water that are not our lifeblood. And we need to enable that by stitching up our wrists here and going and like tending to ourselves so that they know this is not the source anymore. You got to go find your own source. Your source is over there. You got to be empowered to find your source. So the self-love elements of this are just so obvious and apparent. They're so loud. And you'll be seeing that in yourself and in other people, especially with Uranus square Venus, these kind of like abrupt, unannounced, previously never before seen, just investments in people's own self-care, self-love. Like, oh, you never did that. Oh, you don't want to hang out with me on Friday, but we always hang out every single Friday. Yeah, well, tonight I'm taking a bubble bath, having a glass of wine, and then I'm going to take myself to a movie. Bye. I'm doing me. And so as that unfolds, and you're seeing that with people, where you can encourage people to continue to go for it in their self-care, that it'll be constructive to allow that. It's funny because just as the Venus retrograde began to pop off back in June, she entered shadow There's been an ongoing conversation on social media, but it's really come into kind of pop culture awareness now, this construct called main character energy, where you get to be the main character of your life, stop treating yourself like you're a supporting character. That's a very Venus retrograde in Leo theme, right? And so this is the time for that, and where you can make those kind of investments in yourself. And even with Uranus in the mix, some of this may require a change of previously set up plans. If you're the one who made the plans, you're the one who can change the plans, right? If you're the one who made the commitment, you are also the one who can unmake it. So if you had previously agreed to something and it's just no longer feeling aligned, then don't do it. You can have the revelation it's not aligned and then make a change. You can change your mind. As divine creator beings incarnate, you have that power. Go forth with your permission slip and live. Please live. For the rest of us, please live. Okay. So you're going to see a lot of people unburdening themselves from duty and obligation in this energy, which is, really lovely to be able to know that that's there, especially as Lilith is speaking to that Venus and that Uranus. Lilith brings to the table an energy of, I'm going to need to do it my way. And so whatever way that is for you, honor yourself, do it. This is the moment. If not now, when? If not you, who? Okay. So I really like to see that. There may be, according to kind of more traditional astrology, some curveballs in love or money. Venus traditionally represents that. There also may be some changes in what you're drawn and or attracted to, right? Where maybe your friends could always count on you to be that person they could process all their challenges, problems, and wounds with. You may just not be drawn to that anymore. You may be drawn to like, I kind of just like to go cycling and then go bowling and do fun stuff. Or it could be something more like, maybe you previously were drawn to, art and, doing things in, with paints. And now you may want to, I don't know, roller derby. Let yourself do it. This is the moment to have that self-discovery and those revelations about what you're drawn to. Okay. There could be some surprises in relationship that you didn't see coming. But during a Venus retrograde, the reason why those surprises might come up is because there's something that about a person that needs to be included in the relationship that may not have previously been included. This could be the kind of full moon where you find out, maybe you're married to someone all this time, and then you find out they're having an affair with somebody else. But what's happening in this kind of thing is there's a part of them that's getting met in that affair that's not getting met in the marriage. And this is an opportunity to talk about that, to have them bring more of themselves into this relationship and have that healing quantum leap, catapult the relationship. That's Uranus, quantum leap, catapult the relationship into a more pleasurable place, a more loving and caring place. Over here, that's Venus and that's Taurus for both people. Okay. And I'm not condoning affairs. You guys know that. I'm just saying, look, there's opportunity and solutions if we're willing to pay attention to what the curveballs are and what's happening. Okay. Okay. So curveballs with money, curveballs with the love stuff. Like I said, if it's happening under the Venus retrograde, there's most likely the opportunity to resolve it as Venus goes direct. Okay. It's not a permanent curveball. Like if, some unforeseen money challenge showed up during Venus retrograde. As Venus goes direct, the solution is also going to appear. Okay. So important to remember that. Never stuck. There's always movement. Always movement. Okay. And there's lots of investment opportunities as well in this. If you're willing to just pay attention to where the opportunities are, strongly recommend you make investments when Venus is direct, not retrograde, unless it's something you previously invested in. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Juno is in the mix with that Uranus. Yeah. Mostly this reads like love curveballs rather than curveballs having to do with money, because of Juno in the mix. Juno is our marriage planet, marriage and commitment, and she's over there in the sign of family. She is sextile to Uranus, again, the change maker, quantum leaper, the catalytic energy of revolution, growth, and change. With both Venus and Juno in conversation with Uranus, this reads to me like a lot of maybe surprise proposals, even because Uranus is in an earth sign and Juno is in water sign that represents home. Like people could like randomly show up at your house with surprise love information and energy. There's a lot of that in the air at this time. You know, friends or family that you never thought would have gotten married might get married in this energy as well. You may even have an about face in this energy around your position on certain things around love and or marriage. Like, you know, I never thought I'd get remarried. Surprise! You met the person during a Venus retrograde and Venus goes direct and y'all are just eloping. That kind of thing can happen with this. Okay. So be on the lookout for that stuff. This is, let's get into the thing where I was talking about structure of life changing, major changes afoot here. Now, we have been talking about this for some time. It's Pluto retrograde square the nodal axis. This is a divine opportunity to pick up our power by confronting our fear. That is Pluto in conversation with the nodes. Pluto represents power. It also represents fear, but you can access your own power by confronting what scares you. And then Pluto also represents the resurrection cycle. So the death, afterlife, integration, and then rebirth of a thing. Pluto makes that kind of transformative change. But with Pluto, when something gets reborn, it's never in the shape it was previously. When something comes back to life with Pluto, it's not what it was. And in the area of, there's two areas of life you can look for in your chart, or you can also just have me read it for you. If you want to book a session, I can look at it and tell you. But in your chart, you want to look at the house that Capricorn governs and then the house that Aquarius governs, where those two meet up. Because Pluto is going back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius and will do so for the next 3 years. Okay. It moves very slow, 248 years to get around the wheel. Pluto is causing that particular area of life to have a total shakeup. There will be a death and an ending to the way you did things in that house prior to Pluto getting into Aquarius. And then there will be a resurgence once Pluto fully anchors in Aquarius of something completely different, a different way of being when it comes to that particular house. Okay. And so that's the first place to look in your chart. Because Pluto governs the astrological sign Scorpio, you want to look at the house that Scorpio governs. That particular house is also going to go through a dramatic change and a radical transformation at this time. But it is only through confronting your fears and picking up your power that the transformation is going to happen. And this is only aided and abetted at this particular moment. The 2023 component of this It is aided and abetted by Neptune, who is sextile to Pluto, major outer planet, bringing major energy in Pisces, and then Uranus, because Uranus is trine to that Pluto as well. Major outer planet, bringing major energies over here in Taurus. Now, Uranus and Neptune are not speaking to the nodes, Pluto is, but Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, they're all speaking to one another. And for them to all speak to one another at the same time like this is what's rare. This is what makes 2023 very special. This is also what's causing it to feel like, and I talked about this at the last lunar update, like there are always these scenes in either like heist movies or kind of adventure quest kind of movies like Indiana Jones, where the hero is trapped in some kind of room and then the ceiling starts to collapse and the floor starts to show spikes and then the walls start to close in on one another and then the room floods. And it's like, whoa, I don't know how we're gonna get out of here, or where we're gonna go, but we got to get out of here. And that's what 2023 is, this latter part of 2023. Because Pluto is over here causing a dramatic ending to two areas of life. Neptune is washing it out to sea, because that's what Neptune does. It works like the tides. It's the uncontrollable force of spirit. It's that uncontrollable piece of life. And then there's Uranus in the mix, who is like, whenever you're ready to hop in the divine slingshot, get in, because we're going forward. You could do it now. You could do it. I don't know. How much pain do you need to be in before you're ready to get on the slingshot ride and get on up out of here? That's how this is going. Uranus is wanting to propel us forward. Pluto is saying you can't stay here anymore. And Neptune is washing away everything we've known at the tail end of Pisces there. And so within this, the vibration and sensation of this, there's a lot of shape-shifting of our third dimensional realities in areas like where we live, where we work, what feels good to us, what doesn't, the way we make money. Some of our physical health and our bodies are shifting as well. What we believe and our faith systems are shifting. That's Neptune and Pisces and the Virgo thing, the way we do service. All of these kinds of things are transforming. Okay. And so with this, the third dimension transforming, because we inside are transforming, we're growing. So necessarily our outer world has to shift to match that growth. There's a lot of a sense of like portal opening or a collapsing of realities and timelines and life as we knew it. There can be a lot of freaky coincidences in this kind of energy. And my favorite part is that there's a lot of opportunity for rapid manifestation, rapid things just moving in a brand spanking new direction. Many of you have seen this as your life has begun. It started getting prepared for this in the last 2 years, in the year since 2020. You've really seen life start to go in a new direction, new doors opening. And I will say this, the level of pain we are in about this is commensurate to the level of attachment we had to how things used to be. The more we can get into a space of just seeking what's pleasurable, what feels good now, because what was is going away. And the more we can get into a place of celebration for our growth, change, and transformation, and other people's, and stay focused on solutions, the easier this is going to be. And so going back to that example that I provided at the start, listen, there are things about the way things used to be, or maybe the way we used to do strikes or do protests, that make a lot of sense. And there is also a new thing that's unfolding at this time that maybe has some benefit if we're willing to invest in looking for the benefit in it. Okay. And so, wherever you're growing, wherever you're changing, I salute you. This is not an easy time. Like I said, if you need some support with this, you can certainly book with me over at K-Moon Astro for that, because what this looks like, if you may not understand the sigils on the chart and all of that, but what this really looks like, as I was sitting down, I've been in prayer and meditation about this with people, or sorry, with the divine, with God, and then coaching people all week astrologically. What this looks like is this: we're all on this little path in life and things are going along, and then we get to a place here. And what happens here is there's this opportunity to start going like this, like going all the way up to exactly where we want to be. Okay. But if we are stuck in, okay, well, it's not supposed to be this way, it's supposed to be that way, and people should be like this, and I used to be like that, and I always wanted this, and that person always wanted that, and now they're changing. What we're setting ourselves up for is something more like this, where instead of going all the way up, we just loop around, repeat a cycle. And where we are at right now, as I am explaining this to you astrologically, where we are at, maybe you ever been in a park or a mall and it's a large space with lots of roads and they're trying to figure out where you're going to go. And they have that big old sign that says, "You are here." We're right here, guys. We're at the crossroads where we get to either evolve or repeat. As humanity, as collective, as individuals in our lives, you are here at the jump point. And through these updates, and in this one in particular, I'm really trying to lay out for you how you find your way to the upward path. And that is specifically through, like I said, this Taurus energy that is square to this particular new moon, but is a heightened influential player through the middle of next year with Uranus and Jupiter here. Change maker, hype man is what feels good, what nourishes you, what builds you up. And that's not to say we need to be dilettantes out here. The design of the human being is to seek pleasure and to avoid pain. And that's just not human beings. That's life on earth. That's the way God built it. That's the way we were created. Seek pleasure, avoid pain. And so I urge you, I encourage you, I implore you, where you have been up in arms about how hard this is, I urge you to put that story down and to force your attention, drag your attention, turn your attention to, well, what feels good in this moment? And from that place, building that capacity to see will be the way you source your solutions that will carry you to that upward path. Okay. All right. So let's get into first look. That is the lunar update. If you need some help figuring that out for yourself in more specific terms, either around love or money or home or family, you can always book a reading with me over at kmoonastro.com. And that will be, you can look at your chart and see what the options and opportunities are for you and where your particular access point, personal access point to the upward path is. Let me set up the new moon chart and we'll have a look together. All right, so here is our new moon in Leo taking place on August 16th at 5:37 a.m. Again, if you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. This is hilarious to me. Okay, so clearly the thinking is just not what we need to be doing. We need to just be acting. So if a funny, this is why I'm laughing. Okay, let me reshare screen in a different way. Just share the desktop. There we go. Okay. Here is the full moon in Aquarius. We have, oops, okay. Let me try and share that again. Okay, yeah, you should be able to see it now. Let's make that adjustment. This is why this is funny to me. All right, so here's all this demand for change, growth, and transformation that I just finished explaining to you guys, right? Change, grow, grow. There's all this push for it, all this support for it. There was only 2 placements in air signs at the full moon in Aquarius. There's none. And we need air. Air is how we think, it is how we communicate. The air signs are all about that mental processing. And we were built with, all the elements, a mind, body, emotions, and a spirit. We were built with all the elements on purpose because we need all of them. We wouldn't have been built with them if we didn't need any. But apparently, during the season of high change and growth and transformation, the setup here is just shut your brain off for a little bit. Do less thinking, maybe a bit more doing, and deal with, this is the other hilarious part of it to me, deal with your attachments to how it is so we can get on with getting into what it is you want things to be. That's a lot of fixed energy, y'all. A lot. 10 placements in fixed signs. That's a whole lot. Okay, so back to the my first, so this is part of my first impression of this new moon in Leo. But let's get into what's aspecting the moon. You see, it's a lot of fire and a lot of earth, which already tells me this is going to be a lot of activity, a lot of, hopefully some movement and some shifting, some change in positive ways for people. There's our friends, hype man and change maker over here, grinning at us with the gold teeth at the party. Like, what you gonna do? And I love it. I'm so here for it. Here's our new moon over here in Leo. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. And normally I don't find divine comedy all that funny, but this is hilarious. Okay. So you remember what I was saying about, okay, seek the pleasure, needle across the record is Uranus, and Jupiter is just like, yeah, do the new thing. And it's all here in the sign of what feels good to us. Venus is retrograde over here in the sign of self-sovereignty, creating this to be a self-love Venus retrograde. The new moon is unfolding, conjunct the self-love, and Lilith having a conversation on top of it. And it's like Lilith is at the party on top of this going, like, she's this like femme fatale at the party with a long, those long cigarettes, like this, super cute bob and like a sequin dress going, do you, boo? Because I'm doing me. And that's the scene. It's a very funny energy to me because Lilith wants to do her own thing. She's going to do her thing. She's going to do it her way. And if she's not getting her way, she's out. Like, oh, you don't have champagne at your party? I'm leaving. And abruptly she just exits. Like, it's that kind of vibe. And so we've got Lilith conjunct the moon and the sun with Venus retrograde in Leo. And it is this energy of supreme self-love, supreme self-confidence, supreme, you can't tell me nothing kind of energy. It's that moment in every movie when kind of the like downtrodden heroine like finally finds her voice, and she just tells the people who have been trying to strong arm her, enough. Enough is enough. And she just walks off and does her thing. And so it's that moment when we all cheer, like, yes, girl, go get it, you could do it. This is the new moon in Leo. And I'm really here for this energy. I love it. We got Chiron in the mix, having a conversation and saying, because Chiron can either go wound or wisdom. And in this moment, because it's a trine, Chiron's going to go wisdom, please. Thank you. And it's just this energy of like, somebody tells you you can't do it, internally, we all are going to get the vibrational energy of, oh, yeah, watch me. And I love it. I so love the new moon in Leo. This is going to be a great one, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for the likes, the share, the scribes. Okay, mouth. Are you going to cooperate with the brain or not? Thank you for the likes, the subscribes, and the shares. Thank you so much for your patience and letting me get to the Aquarius new moon when I got to it. And thank you so much for all of your care. It has been a wonderful 5 years for me here on YouTube with you all. Like I've been saying, this is like my 5-year anniversary doing this stuff, and it has been so much fun. I really appreciate everyone who's been here and along for the ride, and I'm excited to give you guys some new stuff with the astrological mentorship and private mentorship program coming up here during the month of August. You guys take care, and I'll see you at the next lunar update. Bye for now.